My name is Paul Shelley, and welcome to The AstroHistorian. This is a series where I talk about all things sci-fi and space lore. Today, I'm going to be doing another list video, because y'all seem to love them. I've talked a lot about ships in the Star Citizen universe, because they're at the core of the game. But today, I'm going to talk about ships that most people will never be able to fly. The capital ships of the UEE Navy. Now, this isn't going to cover all of the capital ships in entirety. It will be more of a surface look at them, and a few of these ships have almost no information on them. So take this as a primer for those interested in learning more about the big guns of the UEE. Before I get started, I'd like to thank y'all for watching these videos. I've seen a significant rise in subscribers and viewers over the last few months, and without y'all watching and spreading the word, this wouldn't be possible. If this is your second time enjoying one of my videos, think about hitting the subscribe button yourself and tickling that little bell icon to be notified when these new videos come out. If you've already done that, then hitting the like button on this video will help spread the word. So without any further ado, these are the largest ships of the UEE Navy. The first one is also one of the newest capital ships in the UEE fleet. Built in 2946, in the aftermath of the devastating attack on Vega II, the RSI Polaris is a ship designed from its inception to tackle large Vanduul ships. The sleek, more rounded design helps deflect the preferred Vanduul melee attacks. Officially, the ship is named after the famous UPE war hero Hester Polaris, who managed to take on several larger Tavaran ships and survive in hit-and-run engagements before dying tragically at her post. However, the name itself seems to be derived from the old US Navy UGM-27 Polaris nuclear missiles, which were the main submarine-launched nuclear missiles for several Western countries for decades in the 20th century. If that's the case, it lives up to its devastating ancestor, with its insane complement of 28 size 10 capital killer torpedoes. This makes just one of these a legitimate threat to any large ship, or if equipped with the antimatter warheads, even moons or planets. It is the perfect representation of modern UEE military doctrine. The crew size is small, requiring a skeleton crew of 4 to operate, with the maximum crew size of 24 members. It also has space for a small ship, be it a scout or fighter, to operate as a screen for it. It is obviously designed for long-distance engagements, meaning it does have glaring weaknesses, which are meant to be plugged by operating with a squadron of fighters, smaller gunboats like the Hammerhead and the Perseus, or in support of an Idris. This is because of a need for smaller crew numbers, while remaining flexible to fit multiple roles the Navy might need it to fill. There's currently no indication of when the ship was finished and activated by the UEE Navy, if at all, but we know it will be available in-game for players to crew, though it's not available yet. As a result, we have yet to see how effective this small but mighty torpedo boat truly is. The next largest ship of the fleet is the Aegis Idris frigate. This aging boat is still the workhorse of the UEE Navy, though the initial design was to replace the undergunned and out-of-date Perseus, as the post-war UPE needed a corvette patrol ship capable of projecting power over much larger distances. It was initially designed to have 2 ships docked to the hull, and be cheaper and easier to build than the larger capital ships. However, it ballooned in size from a corvette to a frigate during its design phase thanks to veterans of the First Tavaran War, who were added to the project on the insistence of Ivar Mezer. The result is a ship designed to equally keep the peace and fight frontline wars. First released in 2551, the Idris class would go through 3 separate revisions over the years. Flight 1s were found to have a major design flaw with how the ship was laid out, making it particularly prone to fires, which resulted in the design of the Flight 2s in 2560. After the anti-Mezer revolution and the dissolution of many of the parts companies that built the original Idris, combined with the increased life cycle of the ship, it had to be redesigned, with the Flight 3s being introduced in 2800. This is also because of increased demand for non-military Idrises for law enforcement and militia, which would result in the Idris P model of ships, built from the start for the civilian market. The ship itself is designed around a spinal mount size 10 destroyer mass driver. Designed as its ultimate trump card, this was to make the ship a near peer to most smaller capital ships of the time. meaning it would never be outgunned in its designed role as a patrol ship, and would lend much-needed firepower during larger fleet battles, as it was far more maneuverable than the lumbering capital ships of the time. It retained the original two fighter support design, but the final version held these fighters in an internal hangar by utilizing air shield technology stolen from the Javelin to make them easier to maintain and equip. The ship also boasts bristling amounts of turrets, from anti-fighter lasers to a size 8 anti-missile launcher capable of firing 10 size 5 missiles at any target. While the ship is showing its age, it's still vital to the patrol missions of the UEE Navy, with Idris able to operate alone for long periods of time to maintain the peace inside the UEE, such as the main ship of Squadron 42, a Flight 3 Idris known as the Stanton, named after the star system that is currently the main system of the Star Citizen universe. The third ship we're covering is one of the most iconic ships and arguably the backbone of the UEE. Anchoring many a fleet in the verse, the Aegis Javelin destroyer was built in 2690. The concept of the Javelin class was a flexible, multi-role capital ship with the ability to specialize without building bespoke models. So every Javelin is modular, able to refit quickly for a variety of roles, including convoy escort, fleet support, orbital fire suppression, recon and force, and fast intercept missions. The ship itself has 5 decks and has a minimum crew requirement of 80 with a skeleton crew of 12. It also boasts a devastating variety of weapons, with over a dozen size 7 cannons and several size 9 cannons, along with anti-fighter weapons and 2 size 12 torpedo bays. To cap it all off, it even has a hangar able to hold a heavy fighter or additional cargo, and a bespoke Argo MPVU bay. It is truly a force to be reckoned with in the verse, able to hold an entire star system alone, often against overwhelming odds, such as the example of the UES Warhammer, the main ship responsible for the defense of the Stanton system. Before its assignment to Stanton, the Warhammer was at the fall of Caliban, famous for being the final stand of the 88th Lost Squad against a rapid Vandal invasion in 2884. The Warhammer screened retreating civilian ships and held off the Vandal for hours, having fired their guns so much that the heat buildup was warping the superstructure of the ship. Overall, there have been 3 flights of the ship after its inception in 2690. The first flight required several days of refit to swap modules, but after the fall of the Measures, Aegis was removed from many contracts, including the Javelin, and as such, third-party companies improved the design with the Flight 2s in the 2790s by making interior improvements that allowed for improved modularity, being able to rapidly refit the ship without the need of a dockyard. The Flight 3s began the rework in 2820 and reworked the shield system, including more point defense weaponry and sensors to increase anti-fighter coverage. This gave the ship yet another role as a multi-ship bomber screen for larger fleet movements. The next ship on the list is the icon of the Navy, being one of the most recognizable ships of humanity, the mighty RSI Bengal supercarrier. Built in 2871, this almost kilometer-length ship is the best example of post-Measure UEE doctrine. Capable of carrying multiple squadrons of smaller ships, its main hangar bay could theoretically house an entire Idris frigate if the openings would allow for it. Defensively, the ship boasts 20 shield generators, 14 automated point defense laser systems, and almost 37 inches of armor plating. For reference, that's over twice that of the Japanese battleship Yamato, and reflects the main danger of modern space combat with a van duel, melee and ramming attacks. This makes the ship impossible to destroy or disable alone, and nearly indestructible to anything but the heaviest of attacks. It also is no slouch offensively, with over 40 anti-fighter turrets alone, with 16 larger turrets and a single array of 4 130mm ship-buster railguns designed to core a cruiser in a single shot. The RSI Bengal is often the centerpiece of a battle group, with several of them making up a single fleet. Its downside is its cost to run and maintain. These Leviathans of battle require a crew of almost 800 individuals, and it takes a lot of personnel working closely together to keep the ship even operational, let alone battle ready. As a result, there aren't many built and operational, with rumors of at least one lost Bengal somewhere in the verse for players to find. The final ship on this list is by far the largest and most interesting, because it's the only one of its kind, the Retribution Super Dreadnought. This kingship killer is likely built using Vantool technologies. We know it was in development for some years prior to 2946, but ran into funding issues. It was so secret that hackers who managed to get into the data of the project before it went public were just disappeared, and the Navy quadruple buried the accounts where they paid for even basic parts and labor. After war was declared on the Vanduul, the UEE found the funds to complete the ship, which supposedly is built by a combination of companies. The theory of the Vanduul origin is because of the capture of the kingship X-12 a few years before the first mention of the project. With the UEE ramping up its production of ships, specifically targeting the Vanduul as the Cold War with the Xi'an thawed almost entirely, it isn't far-fetched to think that the tech discovered on the X-12 would be put to use in designing a hard counter to the devastating kingship. The result is the UEES Retribution, twice the size of a Bengal and sporting multiple arrays of shipbuster railguns. This ship was built for one purpose: to rumble with the largest ships in the Vanduul fleet. Much of the Retribution is still classified, as it has only seen action once since the completion in early 2946 during the Battle of Oberon. However, we are likely to find out more during the Squadron 42 campaign, as many theorized it being a major set piece for the game. So those are the biggest capital ships of the UEE Navy. I'd like to thank you for watching. I'd like to thank those on screen now who support me on Patreon to keep this content going. I'm currently trying to raise enough to hire an editor who can help me increase the quality and quantity of videos coming, including a timed Patreon exclusive where I cover the entire history of the Star Citizen universe. If that sounds like something you'd enjoy, think about joining my Patreons for as little as $5 a month. For now, let me know if you'd like me to do another one of these videos. What ship lore would you like to learn about? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, remember, ex Historia ad Astra.